I've always loved Halloween. When I was around 10, it felt like the most exciting day of the entire year. Weeks before it arrived, I'd spend all my free time thinking about my costume and how we could make our house look the creepiest on the block. My dad loved Halloween just as much as I did. He'd always go all out. Fake cobwebs, hanging skeletons, fog machines, even creepy sound effects playing from hidden speakers. It was our yearly tradition. And that year, my two best friends, James and Curly's, were helping us decorate. James was 14, the cool older kid who always made us feel like we were part of something big. Curly's was 12, just a little older than me, and we were both trying to impress James while having fun. The three of us were in the front yard, hanging up decorations while my dad was busy putting together a life-size scarecrow near the porch. I was stretching fake cobwebs across the bushes, trying to make them look realistic, while James balanced on a ladder, hanging a ghost from the tall oak tree near the sidewalk. That's when I saw him. A man I didn't recognize was walking slowly down our street. At first I thought he was just another neighbor, maybe checking out our decorations. But then he stopped. He stood right in front of our house and didn't move. He wasn't walking a dog, he wasn't talking to anyone, and he wasn't holding a bag or anything. He just stopped and watched us. He looked ordinary, average height, maybe in his late 30s, wearing a plain jacket and jeans, but his smile, it wasn't normal. It was too wide, like someone pretending to be friendly but not really meaning it. His eyes didn't match his smile. They were cold and unblinking. "Wow," he said, still staring at us. "You kids are doing a great job. Getting ready for the big night?" I smiled back politely because I was a friendly kid. "Yeah," I said. "We're trying to make our house the scariest one." He chuckled, looking around at everything we'd done. "I bet you'll get a lot of candy," he said, his eyes moving over each decoration. Then he asked, "You planning to go trick-or-treating around here? What's your route?" Something about that question felt strange. Why would he want to know our route? But before I could answer, my dad walked over from the porch. He put his hand on my shoulder and stepped in front of me, blocking the man's view. "Can I help you?" my dad asked, his voice calm but serious. The man's smile faded for a split second. "Just admiring your setup," he said, glancing at the scarecrow. Then he looked at me again. "You've got a hard-working kid here. Make sure you get lots of full-size candy bars, huh?" My dad didn't reply. He just said, "Go inside, son," without looking away from the man. I obeyed right away. As I walked toward the door, I glanced back one last time. The man's fake smile was gone. His face had turned hard, angry even, as he stared at my dad. He stood there for another few seconds before finally turning and walking away down the street. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Something about that man gave me a bad feeling. A couple of nights later, around midnight, I woke up to a loud thud outside. It sounded like something heavy had fallen over in the yard. My room was on the second floor, facing the street, so I slowly got out of bed and peeked through the blinds. At first, I saw nothing but the dark shapes of trees swaying in the wind. Then my eyes focused, and my stomach dropped. There he was, the same man. He was standing in our yard, partly hidden by the big oak tree. The scarecrow my dad had set up was lying flat on the ground, probably what made the noise. But the man wasn't fixing it. He wasn't moving at all. He was just staring at our house. And I swear he was looking right at my window. My heart started racing. I ducked away from the window and ran straight to the living room where my dad was still awake, watching TV. I told him, my voice shaking, "Dad, that man's in our yard." My dad didn't hesitate. He stood up fast, grabbed his flashlight, and went straight to the front door. I watched from behind him as he stepped outside and scanned the yard. The cold air rushed in for a second. He looked everywhere, behind the trees, near the porch, around the bushes, but the man was gone. He came back inside and locked the door tight. "There's no one out there," he said, though I could tell he didn't believe it. The scarecrow must have just fallen. Maybe the wind knocked it down. But I knew it wasn't the wind. The next day was Halloween. I tried to shake off the weird feeling because I'd been waiting for this day all year. After school, James and Curls came over again, and we all got into our costumes. I was a ninja, James was a werewolf, and Curls was a vampire. We looked ridiculous but awesome at the same time. When the sun went down, we grabbed our candy bags and headed out. For a while, everything felt normal. Laughing, running from house to house, showing off our costumes. We stayed close to our neighborhood at first, but soon we decided to explore a little farther. Everyone said the bigger houses gave out better candy, and we wanted to test it. Before we knew it, we were in a part of town I barely recognized. The streets were quieter, darker, and most of the houses didn't even have lights on. We didn't care. Our candy bags were getting heavy, and we were proud of our haul. We were walking up to a dark house with one lonely pumpkin on the porch when we heard a voice from across the street. "Hey kids, over here, I've got the good stuff." We turned, and my stomach dropped. It was him. The man from before was standing in the driveway of a house with no lights on. He was holding a big bowl in his hands, smiling that same fake smile. "Come on," he said, his voice too cheerful. "Don't be shy. I've got plenty for everyone." For a moment, Curlis and I started walking toward him, because who turns down free candy, right? But James suddenly grabbed our arms and said, quietly but firmly, "No, we need to go." I could hear the fear in his voice. The man's smile disappeared again. His eyes darkened. He dropped the bowl. It hit the ground with a hollow sound. And then he started walking toward us, fast. "Run!" James yelled. We didn't need to hear it twice. We ran as fast as our legs could move. I could hear his heavy footsteps behind us, pounding on the pavement, getting closer and closer. My heart felt like it was going to burst. Curlis darted between two houses and vanished into the dark backyard. James was ahead of me, shouting for me to keep running. I risked one look behind. The man was right there, and his face looked furious. I was getting tired. My ninja costume made it hard to move, and I could hear him breathing right behind me. His hand reached out and grabbed the back of my costume. I thought I was done for. Then I heard my dad's voice. "Get away from my son." He came running out from a side street, flashlight in one hand, shouting. The man froze. He let go of me so suddenly that I fell onto the sidewalk. He stared at my dad for a split second, then turned and ran off into the darkness without saying a word. My dad rushed over, helped me up, and held me close. A moment later, James came running back, and Curls peeked out from behind a fence. We were all shaking, out of breath, and on the verge of tears. On the way home, my dad held my hand so tight it almost hurt. He explained that he'd gotten worried when we didn't come back on time. He'd called James's house, but they said we'd already left. So he got in his car to look for us. By pure luck, one of the neighbors had told him they'd seen 3 kids in costumes heading toward that part of town. If they hadn't, he said, he might not have found us in time. We never saw that man again, but I still remember his face, that strange, forced smile that didn't reach his eyes. And every year when Halloween comes around, no matter how old I get, I can still feel that same chill crawl up my spine.